Okay, right.
6:38, we adjourn.
And when
6:25. Okay, item number 11, we're going to reconvene in open session at 6:40 p.m. Item number 12, consider possible action resulting from items posted and legally discussed in executive session. Could I have a motion to instruct city staff to negotiate the lease with Skydive Castroville LLC and bring a final version back to council for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 13, consider and take appropriate action on applications submitted for open positions on city boards and commissions. And it looks like we've got, Deborah, you gonna?
Well, we've got the three regular council, or I'm sorry, board members have resubmitted their applications for reappointment, if you so choose. They're shown in here: Phil King, which was just recently appointed, so this would be a full term. Rick Bays, and also in here is Houston Marchman. They were three of the members that's already on there. Also, we have two new members that would like to be considered. Dan and Cindy Maloney, they're out here in the audience if y'all would like to speak with them and get a little background. And so there's three full board positions open and two alternate positions open at this time.
You have anything, Phyllis?
I know the two new people in my area, and I'd just like to add that Cindy's a very accomplished artist, and I think it'd be excellent.
Good. Paul, you have anything?
No, thank you.
Herb?
Question.
Could I have a motion to accept the applications, approve the applications?
And if we accept the applications for the Historic Landmark Commission.
Okay.
My second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry. The only thing is, may I clarify that the three regular board members to go back on their own
Yes.
positions, and then the two new members
Yes.
go under the...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm happy to see that commission is fully staffed.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Good. Thank you for stepping up and helping us out, sitting on a board. It's always good to see new folks join the boards. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, going on to item number 14, consider and take appropriate action on an ordinance amending the 2019 budget in the amount of $26,500 for the purpose of entering into a professional service contract for recruitment of a city administrator. Mary Jo?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Item number 4 includes the ordinance to amend the budget along with the contract with Strategic Government Resources to provide professional services for the recruitment of the city administrator. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Herb, do you have any questions?
You got to be a lawyer to understand it, but I read it all. I don't have any specific questions, but I think that I'd like to hear the rationale for going this way as opposed to the way that perhaps would be considered to be the way we've done it in the past, where we do it ourselves. I'd like the public to hear why we feel that we need to spend this money in this way to do this. And I don't know, I guess I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, or Mary Jo, to help me understand that. before we're asked to vote on it.
Mary Jo, did you have anything you want to say on it?
I've contacted this particular firm because they had experience in the area. They have experience network throughout the country, as well as here in the Texas area. But I'm available to do either or.
Could I ask another question on the same vein? If we do this the way that you've laid it out in here, using this firm, how will it be different from the way we did it in the last time, for example, when we went through the process of searching and finding? What are we going to do differently under this approach? It seems like this is a much more focused approach. I'd just like to highlight, or get highlighted, what the differences are.
I think they do a much more in-depth search background. I know that the vetting process, when you get down to the final candidates, they actually do news searches. They have multiple backgrounds they do. I think it'll give us a better candidate. I don't think we've done a very good job at hiring city administrators. I don't think we get a quality individual here. If you look at the information that these people put out, all the cities throughout the U.S. that these people do it for, I think they do an excellent job. I want to have the right person here that comes into this position, that knows what they're doing, and stays here and becomes a part of our community. We have done a poor job. There's nobody that has stayed here that we have hired. And if you call any of these cities that they have done work for, and the information is not in our packet. Have you seen that?
I read the whole thing, and I understand the process they're going to follow, and that's why I raised the question, because I think it's important to highlight that they are going to come back.
So let's look at what we just paid the city administrator to exit this city. It's right around this amount of money. I am, for one, as a citizen and as a mayor of this community, am sick of the revolving door that comes in and out of this city. We have got to have a clear leader that is the best in the business to do this position, and we do not have that. We have not had that in the past, and that's why I think that we need professional help. If you look at, when we're going to do something in public works, we hire engineers. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineers to give us the best possible product to fix the city, to do our infrastructure. It's time for us to stop being, having our heads in the sand about this. We need professional help. These people are professionals. This is what they do for a living. It costs a lot of money to go out there and find the right person. I know it may not be a popular thing. I know I've had calls from people that don't like spending the money, but let's keep the revolving door going and keep throwing more, bad money at candidates to get them out of here once we get them in here. This is not an easy process. This process is going to take 4 to 6 months to do. We are going to find the right individual for this position. And we are not going to be rushed into it. It's going to have community involvement, it's going to have staff involvement, and each one of you are going to have involvement. These people are going to sit down with us, and they're going to find out exactly what we want for a city administrator. And once we give them the information of what we want for a city administrator, then they will go out and find this person, and they will thoroughly vet them. You think the Congress vetted the Supreme Court? Well, that's probably the candidate. That's probably just about what they're going to do. They promised me that it's a very thorough search. And I support it 190%. I am ready to have the permanent leader in this community that's here for a long time and lives in this community. Not a bedroom city administrator that goes someplace else. I want somebody that lives in this community. Did that answer your question?
Partially.
Okay.
I'd like to know, though, Mary Jo, do we have a detailed description of what the city requires in the way of prerequisites, education, experience, the job experience, things like that? Do we have a document like that for the city administrator position that exists right now that the city council can have to read, that we can give these people
Yes.
along with our own inputs?
Yes, and that's the important piece, along with your own inputs. Yes, we have a document, an announcement that I can give you that talks about the essential job functions and the job requirements, and then you can add to it or modify it for the consulting firm.
Because it's my understanding they're going to ask each council member, they're going to interview each council member to get what each council member feels are the most important attributes that we see in this person. And that all will be congealed together.
That is correct.
At some point in time before they actually go start looking. And I'm working on mine. I've been working on it for a long time. And I'd like to see what the city has. So maybe it'll gel my memory for something I ought to also add.
We'll make that available.
And I think you should point out also that we are going to have opportunities as a city council to interface with them during the process. It's not just like we outsource this and they go away and then sometime they bring us a person and say, this is the person.
No.
It's not like that. We have a lot of interaction. This contract is very, very detailed. And if you read, it's long, it's detailed. You read it, it's encouraging that it will provide, it is a good process, and it should provide us a well-qualified candidate, but it's not something we're just doing in limbo. We're going to be involved. That's all I have.
Jesse?
What I think Herb was asking is, do we have a job description for city manager? And that has been passed by a council or been formulated?
It was previously approved by council.
Okay, I think we'd like to see that. 26,500, that's a considerable amount of money, but if they're going to be going over the 4 to 6 months, that's a lot of time and effort. Also, what assurances do we have that it's going to stay 26.5? Because it seems like every time I've turned around up here, we've got another 10%, 20%, another change order. What are our assurances that we're going to get? And I don't have a problem. I've looked at the contract. What are we going to? I want to be assured that we're going to get what's in that contract without having any change orders and come up and end up spending, being asked to spend $5,000, $10,000 more.
We will have some expenses on our side associated with the recruitment, but I believe that SGR will keep to the $26,000.
What assurances do we have that they're going to stick to that?
It's in there an amount not to exceed that.
It's a contract.
I saw that, but there's also some, there's also a page in there about extras.
And you can choose not to do those extras.
I understand, but we also probably chose to do a water line, and then every time we turn around, we're choosing to do something else to it, and I don't want to have to choose to do something else 4 or 5 times for this. I want this pretty much, I want to know that this is pretty ironclad, and I understand we are going to have some expenses in addition to this, but I just don't want to see this coming back and say, oh, well, we need $5,000 more here to do that. That's my comment, man.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Mary Jo, we were advised of your experience in this process, and I have gone through a statewide search for an executive director for a statewide organization, and there were a lot of hours put into that by a lot of people. Kind of an estimate of how many hours it took you to find our last executive director, just ballpark.
I did not track those hours.
Months? You worked on it for months?
Well, the process takes a couple of months.
Yeah.
And
So-
as we receive applications, we start...
And other staff members are involved. So we have a certain expense just going into this on our own.
That is correct.
And you weren't able to do the same level of vetting and the same level of advertising that they're offering.
They will do a more extensive.
Okay? No, thank you. That's all.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Phyllis?
I support this 100%. I know the cost. A lot of people have talked to me and said this is terrible, $26,000. But our city depends on the city administrator. The people under the administrator are the people that run our city. And I agree with the mayor, and I usually don't. The city has big problems. We need a strong person that's going to have the degree, have the experience, talk to all of us. We all know who it is, so we're not surprised by a matrix or whatever, matrix that says rate them by 1, 2, 3, and 4 after talking to them for 3 minutes. I cannot emphasize how important it is for the citizens to have a good, experienced, knowledgeable, professional, unfettered by anyone in the city administrator. It's our record. I just want to address something that Mr. Dyer said. We've been through this process. I've lived here for many years. There's always a problem with the city administrator. Maybe Mr. Dyer doesn't remember, but I don't think we've ever had one that anybody really, I don't know what the word is. But we need somebody, and I think this has a guarantee, doesn't it, Mayor?
Yes, it does.
We're guaranteed that this person knows what they're doing. They're not somebody from Minnesota who's never been in 100-degree weather. So, to me, it's very important. I didn't like the price tag, but our city administrator, that's where the buck stops. They're responsible for everything.
Okay.
So, it's important.
Thank you.
Now, I heard you agree with him. Can I see your ID?
Before she changes her mind, can I have a motion to approve the $26,500 budget amendment?
So, go ahead. You're already on your way. So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 15, discussion and possible action on adopting ordinances regulating the installation and maintenance of network nodes, network support poles, transport facilities within the city rights of way pursuant to Chapter 284 of the Texas Local Government Code, adopting an amendment to comprehensive fee. Could you turn that back on? I can't read in the dark.
He had it memorized.
Adopting an amendment to the comprehensive fee schedule, add the fees associated with such facilities, and adopting a design manual to regulate the design of such facilities. It scares me when Jesse's sitting next to me in the dark. I'm just telling you. Okay, go for it.
Good evening. So what we brought to you this evening, I'd just like to preface my presentation by saying that staff acknowledges that this is a very dense topic, that it's a lot of information to digest, but because of the regulations that have been put forth by the state and federal government, we felt that it was imperative to bring this information to you as quickly as possible. So that being said, I'm going to move through a very quick slideshow that gives the highlights, and then I'll move through some key pages in y'all's packet that I think are important to note. So the Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 284, was adopted after House Bill 1004 was enacted, and it specifically regulates network providers' installation of micro-network nodes, and node support poles within public right-of-way. and how municipalities can regulate those installations within the public right-of-way. I will go into more detail on the definitions of those, but in general, they're wireless facilities. They're nodes that are placed on either public poles or on node support poles that provide wireless internet and wireless access to the city. So the first item that I just covered is Chapter 284 allows for certain wireless network providers to install in the public right-of-way by right by this code. It also mandates access to the city right-of-ways for these facilities and mandates their right to access and use and co-locate on city-owned utility poles. It also dictates when permits are required and when municipalities are not allowed to require permits. It mandates shot clocks, which are time limits on permit review, and allows for permit applications to be deemed approved if not acted upon. Very similar to the state laws regarding padding that I know Mr. Perry you're familiar with. And these shot clocks vary by type of installation. So for network nodes, there's a different shot clock for nodes, support poles, etc., based on the kind of installation that's been put in. It also mandates the maximum application fees and annual right-of-way rental fees that cities are allowed to ask for as part of this ordinance. Now, this is where the cities have a little more power in regulating these installations. So, Chapter 284 allows cities to enact additional restrictions on the placement and characteristics of these network nodes and node support poles when they're located in municipal parks, residential areas, historic districts, and what is called design districts and underground districts. By underground districts, that means places in the city that are mandated by our regulations or by deed restrictions to have underground utilities. Some of those examples are River Bluff. Those have underground utilities by deed restriction. Design districts in this local government chapter specifically are referring to design districts where we mandate decorative utility poles. So it may not be completely inclusive of our commercial district or historic district. So there are some restrictions that the state law places on our ability to regulate within these districts. Also, although the access to our service poles is mandated by Chapter 284, the city is allowed to enact an agreement that spells out the terms of use, which is in your packet, but it must be consistent with and not conflict with any of the Chapter 284 requirements. It also gives cities the authority to apply regulations by a design manual. The design manual must be in compliance with 284, must be in writing, adopted by the city council, and made publicly available. So that's a lot of information to say we have the ability as the city, because it is our right as a municipality to regulate the public right-of-way for the health, safety, and welfare of the community, to enact certain restrictions on network nodes within a reasonable context and within the guise of Chapter 284. However, the only way that we have power to do that is to put it in writing and adopt it by ordinance. And so that's why staff felt it was extremely imperative to come before you to make sure that we have those things in place and allow for us to be better protected in our public right-of-ways. So, moving forward, we've done some research, and CPS has become kind of the pinnacle in our area for regulation of these small cell installations. As you'll know, as being familiar with CPS, they have a very large staff that just focuses on the pole installations. and what goes on in the right-of-ways. And so I wanted to demonstrate to you kind of their process and how these network nodes looked at the beginning with no input or regulation on how they looked, and then after CPS's intervention in the regulations and design manuals. So this first slide is traditionally what you would see for small cell installations. These are on CPS service poles, so they look very similar to ours. They're the wooden poles, but you can see they have antennas, wires, and different apparatuses all on the city pole. That whole piece is considered that network node installation. So this is before the regulations were enacted. This is a good before and after that they provided for us. So on the left you have before. This is what the network provider proposed to place in their public right-of-way on their service poles. The after is after coordination between CPS and the network provider. They were able to pare that installation down significantly and have it all housed in a box. And so it's a much more aesthetically pleasing network node, and I think that's something that we can accomplish by enacting these design manuals and any future updates to those design manuals. This is another installation. You can see these are much smaller than that first slide, and you can see the one in the middle. Most individuals driving by would probably not notice that that's even there. And then this is something that CPS is working on. It's their pilot project, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Through coordination with these network providers, they're working on some design criteria for downtown San Antonio, for their design districts and historic district regulations, where they're working on concealment measures to actually hide them in recycle bins. So they tried it in trash bins. It was too messy, and so recycle bins were the way that they're going now. But the reason I included this slide, they haven't enacted this in their regulations, but it's to show the potential of, although Chapter 284 is extremely restrictive on what a municipality can do, I think through enacting these design manuals and processes, we may be able to move to a place where we can work with these network providers and provide more aesthetically pleasing and safer installation for our city. So that being said, I'm going to move through y'all's packet very, very quickly. I know it's a lot to go through. So the first document that I want to walk through, the annotated commentary of Texas Local Government Code, it's the first document after the slideshow presentation. And the only pages I want to stop on are first page 2. There's a quote regarding FCC regulation that essentially says that the local government regulations down in 284, specifically for the city's regulation of the city right-of-way and the city service poles as a municipal entity, they don't preclude us from regulating the safety of our utility installations as a utility provider. So the city, being a utility provider as well, we wear two different hats. We wear a municipal hat and we wear a utility provider hat. And the reason I stop on this page, what I want to do this afternoon and what I'm recommending to council is that we adopt these regulations for the installations in our right-of-way and to protect our city right-of-way. Well, I would like to recommend that staff come back, that we come back at the beginning of this next calendar year and provide a little more detailed analysis into our ability to regulate these installations from a municipal utility point of view. CPS, so I brought their full standard guide. They're very, very specific on the way these installations can be put in. mostly from a safety perspective for our line workers. And so I think it's imperative that we adopt this afternoon to protect the city from a right-of-way management perspective. But I also think that it's very important for us to come back and take a more in-depth look at our pole management standards for the infrastructure side. And that'll be a joint effort between all the city staff because it includes fees, it includes legal and our public works department. And so there's going to be a lot more involved in that review. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention to think about as we move forward. There's some definitions in here. I'm not going to read them through, but if y'all have any questions on any of them, they are in here. Mostly starting on page 6 and moving forward, you've got the definitions of network node, micro-network node, transport facility. It limits the size of what's considered a network node. And again, it sets those maximum annual rates and time costs and things of that nature. So again, I'm not going to go into the details on that, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Let's stop there for a minute. You just touched on something that, in my understanding, the reason that we're doing this is because we want to be able to charge them fees for putting these things on our poles.
That is one of the reasons, yes, sir.
I mean, we don't have the prettiest poles in town. I mean, they look like junk. I could care less if they put a box. If I get better cell service in Castroville, they can put a cow on the pole. I don't care.
There's a lot of money. This is a lot of money.
Let me finish. Let me finish. So I don't care what it looks like. I mean, they're gonna improve it. What kind of money are you talking about? That's what I and this was thrown together. I'm not sure I support this, but tell me what the money is.
Sure. So if you go to the last section of this.
What section?
It's ordinance. It's the ordinance adopting the fee schedule amendment. It's going to be your last 3 pages in this cell section. So what we've proposed is enacting the maximum allowable fees by state law. And it's...
Could you give me a page number in that back?
Right before this
Page 11?
Number 16.
It's after page 11.
After page 11?
It's at the very back.
The ordinance? Okay.
It's very last.
That's the last page.
I saw it earlier, I don't remember where it was.
And I apologize, I'm looking through the handout. When you're looking at Exhibit A, this Exhibit A is not accurate. This is a previous draft.
Oh, it's not accurate?
This one is not. This one is. They're both in your packet. I just wanted to specify.
Okay.
The written out, bulleted fee schedule is the recommended fee schedule for this. And this enacts the maximum allowable charges for each of these types of installations. So you're looking at permit applications.
So they pay $500 for a permit application per pole?
For up to 5 nodes. So they'll make an application for multiple, theoretically, depending on what they're wanting to do.
But we can't charge this unless we put this ordinance in place.
Yes, exactly. You would be looking at a right-of-way rental fee per pole as well for these types of facilities, and co-location fees for those network nodes on city poles, which are in line with what we would charge other.
How many poles are we looking at, do we think, that they're for the city?
So, in the training that I went to discussing the situation in CPS, they're estimating because of the need for wireless internet service, this could theoretically be on every city pole.
Really? Wow.
I mean, it's a very popular institution. It's not at that point yet. I mean, they're not seeing them on every pole yet.
There's a lot of activity with them putting fiber in the city, and there's been a lot of activity. I've seen a lot of vehicles from that company here, so I suspect there's something, but, you know, guys, I'm going to tell you what. We're doing the same thing we do in the past, and we restrict people from doing business in this community. And this is just one of those instances that I have issue with this. You know, as a business person, if we had better internet service and better cell service in Castro, I'd put my arms around them instead of trying to run them off. Herb, you're over there panting at the bit.
I'll wait till Phyllis finishes.
Phyllis?
This seems like a tree ordinance to me again.
Yeah, it is.
So if we just simply write an ordinance following these, we don't need to write our own, do we?
Following the state law?
Yeah, this one, I was looking at the first one, I guess, page 14, the very beginning. Is that the state law? Section 284104.
Yes, that's the annotated state law.
It's clear. I mean, right here it says that you can't do them in municipal parks, they have to ask. So I see the only problem that Castroville seems to have is with what it looks like. And I can't help but agree.
I don't think that's true. I don't think there is it. You know, this is how much information this is. I got it 30 minutes before the meeting, and I'm supposed to know what's in it.
No, but the placement is clear. But from I understood from her presentation, they're concerned with what it looks like.
I might be able to clarify something for you. If you'll indulge me for just a few minutes, I think I can help give you the one over the world view of this. This technology, many of you may know about it, it's called 5th generation. It's coming next year to the whole United States and around the world. It's coming whether anybody wants it or not. What it's going to do for people who use the internet is phenomenal. It will allow businesses to get rid of all the wires in their building and do everything wireless. It will allow businesses to flourish with the Internet of Things. What it really is, it's called millimeter wave radio. We had this in the military for the last 10 years. I've used it, I've lived with it, it works great. What it is very high frequency radio, much higher than we use today for cell phones. Today on a cell phone, you got the bandwidth, let's say it's a foot wide, just for the purposes of discussion. And you can put 10 cell phones in there on one antenna. That's what we have today. This new technology, the frequency is so high that that bandwidth is 10 feet wide. And you can put 500,000 cell phones in it. And what's going to happen is they have to put up more antennas because it's such a high frequency, it's line of sight. Whereas the radios that we use today have a little bit longer range. So because it's shorter range and bigger bandwidth, there's more antennas required, but they're smaller. So what we have in front of us basically is the draft ordinance to give the city some protection so that we don't get run over, because if we have nothing, we will get run over. And we will lose the opportunity to make these franchise fees for many, many years to come. And it is a huge amount of money when you start looking at it. So I read all these documents very carefully today. It's too complicated to go through in here. But basically, this design manual and this pole attachment agreement and this ordinance is a good start. It may not be perfect. It may not be exactly what we want, but our attorneys already reviewed it. It's consistent with the law. It's consistent with other cities that he has successfully seen implement, and it will give Castroville a little bit of protection. It won't necessarily make things harder for businesses or for communications companies to come here and do things. It'll just mean they have to comply with the law, and they can't just walk over us. So I would recommend that we have confidence that this is a good start document, that we learn more about it as time goes on, but I think we should take some action tonight to protect ourselves so we just can't get run over. Thank you.
You know, I'm not opposed to what you said, that it's good technology. What I'm opposed to, and you just brought up something else that I'm really opposed to, is that we should be welcoming businesses, not throwing fees on them when they want to come in and make our community better. And Paul, this is the same thing that happened with the parking ordinance and the tree ordinance. Let's pass it and we'll fix it later. And look where we are today. We've been sitting here for 2 years and none of us have gone back and fixed the parking ordinance or the tree ordinance. It's still there, and that was one of the #1 things. And that's something I have issue, is throwing these things, ordinances out there and passing them and really not knowing what's in them. But you guys I don't get a vote in this, but I do get to speak my opinion on it.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
What are we protecting ourselves from, Mr. Dodd?
I don't know.
If you have nothing,
The boogeyman's coming.
Tell me, I need tangible evidence.
yes, you're protecting yourself from the standpoint that if you have nothing, then
No.
you can't stop the communications
What?
companies. They're going to put them on your poles anyway. They're going to come here and put them on the poles anyway.
So
You can't stop them. The way the law is written, it favors them.
Why would
Those antennas are coming
Why do we want to stop them?
Great.
because you don't want the antennas on your poles,
Why?
because they're unsightly. But they're going to be there. The only difference is we could get franchise fees.
Can I interject? So
No, I asked you a question. Is there any design review in this ordinance?
from like an HLC,
Yeah.
PZ kind of design review, no, sir.
Nothing, they don't have to go through any design. They
No,
shouldn't.
so the review would be to make sure that the design is compatible with the pole that it's on. So that the pole has enough
Girth.
strength to be able to hold that kind of node.
So we're
it's
talking
not-
structural, not aesthetic.
Yes, if council does not want to regulate these on an aesthetic point of view,
No.
we don't have to. Staff's goal with bringing this so quickly is to make sure that the city is getting paid for the expenditure that we're going to see in maintaining these poles and making sure our public right-of-way is safe. And yes, from an aesthetic point of view, but that's a very subjective thing that's up to council to decide how lenient or how stringent y'all would like to be on the design review standpoints. However, for the safety of our line workers, the safety of our citizens, it's important that we at least have the opportunity to look at what these network providers are bringing forward. They don't just put whatever they want on our poles.
If I may.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I noticed in the illustrations from CPS that every one of these nodes had a meter, an electric meter on it. Is there any provision in that? I mean, they're going to have to actually purchase the meter
Yes,
from
so
us?
These network nodes are not allowed to have power generators.
Right.
Therefore, they must be connected to the city.
So we're going to have a meter installation, we're going to have a utility bill for every one of these.
Yes.
That's pretty serious
So
impact.
that, they would be built like a typical residential unit. Now, there are ways that we can we need them to be underground so that we don't have wires going to and from each one of these nodes, things of that nature. It's the design review beyond the aesthetic requirements. It's from a safety perspective. When you're looking at these nodes, you're not just looking at the possibility of one on a street corner. You could be looking at the possibility of many on a street corner. So it's just trying to ensure that these are going in, it's going to be compatible with the right.
Did they give you a radius, operational radius for one of these nodes when you were at this workshop? I mean, is it a quarter mile, 200 feet?
It's line of sight,
It's line of sight.
direct line of sight.
So it could be block by block.
Could be.
So it can't go inside the building?
No, it doesn't, it goes outside, but
No, the signal can't come inside.
yes, it can, but it just,
It
line of sight,
deteriorates.
you got to be able to see from the building to the pole.
It deteriorates with walls.
So you have to have lots of antennas.
And beyond those requirements, there's some provisions in these design manuals to ensure that they're tested, to make sure that they don't interfere with public safety equipment, like our SCADA equipment. things of that nature that we really do need to double check on.
So the statute had safety requirements, and so does, and the ordinance basically echoes those. So I really don't see them operating outside of the safety requirements that we would be instituting in our ordinance.
Jesse?
Just
Well, as you said, our poles are not exactly what you call works of art, and I don't exactly think most poles are. And I think once somebody takes a look at it, they're going to drive by, look at it, next day they're going to look at it, and the third day they're not even going to know it's there. These, and Mr. Mayor, with all due respect on these fees, these companies, they may not be happy with these fees, but they're acceptable to them, or they wouldn't be here. Because this came down from on high in Austin, that we were definitely going to have to let them in one way or another. And if it came through Austin, these fees are acceptable to them.
These are our fees.
FCC.
I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is these fees are acceptable to them, or they wouldn't be here. There'd be some, I agree, there are fees, but there's a maximum fee in there, I read somewhere on it, and they're agreeable to whatever that maximum fee is. So, I don't see giving them access to our poles any more than we give a cable provider that wants to string wire. They pay a franchise fee or whatever, or rental, whatever you want, terminology you want to throw on that contract, but they still pay it. You can call it what you want.
Okay.
But these people are willing to pay this, or it wouldn't be here.
Okay. Anything else? Have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we accept the draft ordinance approving a design manual for the installation of network nodes, network support poles, and transport facilities, and approving a pole attachment agreement regulating the installation of network nodes and transport facilities on city service poles and utility poles.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
You're a tie. You get to vote.
That's what they pay you big bucks for.
What's that? Oh, shit, we have one.
I don't understand, I don't understand what the design plan is. Is it the original, or is it
I think we have a motion, and I don't think
There's no, yeah.
No, we're not in the middle of a vote. Discussion is over right now. We can bring it back up, but we've got a motion and a second on the floor that needs to be voted.
We have a tie, 2-2.
I don't know what the design plan is.
Right.
How can I
It's
vote
in
on
here.
it?
You already did. It's in this
Todd,
package.
where are you? You're supposed to...
The city or the government?
Wow. I really don't want to pass this. I vote aye. I think we just got screwed, but that's okay. So it carries.
Okay.
I have to keep my personal feelings out of this. Going on to item number 16, discussion appropriate action on repair of Mexico Street from Washington Street to the county line. Okay, there's a lot of controversy on whether this is even posted right on the agenda.
Because I thought we were talking about
And
Bandera.
I think we should table it until the next city council meeting in December so that it's cleared up. I was told it was not posted properly.
That's
That we
incorrect.
can't even vote on it.
That's incorrect. I've talked to the person that said it was posted incorrectly and clarified that. The only thing that is incorrect about it is that it says county line. It should have been said, it should have said county road. But we do have the easement. We found the paperwork that has the easement. The quote regarding the trees has nothing to do with that. So basically, the only difference is county road as opposed to county line, and the cost, the quote, is
for $5,800 is actually about half that. So it's not posted incorrectly. You can table it if you want, but
Did you ask Habib about it, whether it was posted correctly, the city attorney?
well, so basically, we're just discussing the action to repair from Mexico Street to Washington Street. So, I mean, I can, but I think he's going to say that the fact that it says line as opposed to road is going to be irrelevant. And that was the posting.
Okay. All right, we'll go on. So, how did this come about? What brought this up? It's the first I've heard of it. I haven't heard anything being done on this or
So
anything.
what happened and what brought the urgency to it was all this rain that we had over the past couple weeks, especially Halloween. The citizen that spoke earlier, he expressed his concern, and then after looking at it, we realized that he had a point, that on Halloween night, the roads were so bad that there was some concern about safety issues. So Devin, our parks director, or parks superintendent, went over to help. We were going to fill potholes and that kind of stuff, and he went over to help, and he came back and reported that he couldn't even drive on that road. It is a safety issue, we believe, at this point. And so we just went out over the last couple weeks since Halloween and took pictures and looked at it, and that's why it came up now. It was not on our radar until then, but I have heard from residents and staff who have been here that it has been an ongoing issue for many years.
I mean, this road goes underwater every time the river comes up. You know, it's always had issues.
It was underwater a couple weeks ago. It was underwater a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. You know, okay. Herb, you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I read this very carefully, and I think this is a good initiative. And I'm very supportive of it, but I have just a few concerns that I'd like to voice. The part about the road, I'm very supportive of. And we're talking about the intersection of Washington and South Mexico, where you go down the hill and it turns west, goes along the river all the way out till the road turns north. And as soon as the road turns to the north and hits the county road, that's where the city limit is. And that's what we're talking about. The distance, about a half a mile from the city limit back up to the intersection of Mexico and Washington Street. It looks like the city and the county have been working together, and the county is willing to spend a lot of money to do this. And the part that the city has to do is fairly minimal. And I think it's a good value for the city in terms of getting the road fixed, because they're not just going to coat it, they're going to fix it. They're going to grade it down, they're going to put in base, they're going to fix it correctly, and I think it's a good initiative. Enough about the road. The second part of the three parts is the trees. That's a good initiative. The city's already established that it's a safety hazard. You can't even drive down that road in a truck without risk of a limb coming through your windshield. So they want to raise the trees up to 14 to 16 feet off the road, where they belong. That's a good initiative. They've got 3 quotes in here from 3 tree companies. It's good. The only problem I have is the quote itself was not written down. It was a verbal request for quote. And you got 3 different quotes, and you can see that they're all quoting something different. What I would recommend to the city is just do that request for quote over again and get 3 new quotes on the same thing. And then you can compare them and you can pick which one's best. The third issue is the removal of the tree that's hanging over in the ditch. It's cut and dried. We need to remove the tree. And the trouble is the request for quote doesn't specify that you want a price for clearing the roads back 2 feet on each side and removing the tree. So if we could just get the city to clarify what they want in the way of a quote, get 3 new quotes from the same bidders, so you get an apples to apples comparison. I think this is a very good initiative, and I think for the city to spend the small amount of money we're going to have to spend, trying to find the exact amount, it was $38,330 is what we're going to have to spend out of the city budget. And what we're going to get for it is a rebuilt River Road all the way to the city limit from the intersection of Mexico, and I think that's a great bargain. And I would strongly support it. Thank you.
Can I address the quote?
Go ahead.
So they were asked to quote 3 feet back by 15 feet over. That is what the county recommended. Reality is they can't go further back than 2 feet. There's no, they just can't get there. So it was left up to the people who bid to bid what they thought was correct. So Linda and I went through this today, and the Davy, they met the spirit of it. They know they can't go back more than 2 feet. Actually, the county did come back and say that 2.5 feet maximum. So the fact that they came back with a lower, a smaller amount is correct. Coming back with further than 3 feet would have been wrong, because they can't do it. But less than 2 feet was the appropriate way to have bid this. And then the one that we're recommending is 14 to 16 feet, and I think that all three quotes met the 14 to 16 feet. But I do want to say on this quote that tree removal, I thought that the quote, that the street name was incorrect, but that should not have been on there. So that needs to be lined off. So the quote to do the work we need from Davy was $3,850, not the $5,000 whatever it is.
His is $3,000?
$3,850.
So the tree doesn't get removed?
The tree is another issue not on that
Then I think, you got to get all three of them to rebid, because Bowers included the tree in his bid. The other company didn't.
May I just say something, Mr.
Sure. Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. That's not my call. Mayor.
When our park superintendent, he took each of the vendors or each of these companies in person to the roadside and showed them this is what we want. He told them 3 feet by 15. The companies actually knew that that was our criteria, 3 feet by 15. But they were asking him other questions, and so he said, okay, fine, if you want to bid something different, that's fine, you can go ahead and submit what you feel needs to be done, and then we will look at it. But they were, all three of them were told 3 feet by 15 feet. So they knew the criteria. He took them, each one individually on his own, down the street, showed them what needed to be done, and then they came back with these quotes. The only thing that he didn't do is separate the tree removal, because that doesn't even have to do with Mexico Street.
There is a component of tree removal in all of these. If you look at the prune trees and brush from the corner of Washington to Mexico Street, the very first line on the Davy quote, and that is what they are all referencing. This, I don't know why that was included.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Is the tree removal part going to be an absolute requirement for the paving work that needs to be done?
No, sir, this is a different, it's not,
Okay.
why the park superintendent put it on his, I don't know. He just happened.
I move that we separate this item into two different items.
I personally thought it was two because of Washington Street, but I realized that it was one first.
No, I'm just moving that we separate, that we split this into two different items.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Do I have a second?
No, I want to discuss
Well,
this.
there's a motion on the floor.
Well, you can
discuss.
discuss.
We can go on, just a second. There's a motion. Do I have a second? Motion dies, lack of second.
Okay, very good.
All right, Phyllis.
All right. What district is this in? Yeah. This district.
Technically, according to the map, from the middle of the road to the river is District 1, and from the middle,
Me?
District 2, I'm sorry, and from the middle of the road up the hill is District 1.
How many people live on this road?
None,
No, there are.
None?
Yes, there are.
River Bluff
not in the
abuts the
city.
road. River Bluff
Burgess is
abuts.
involved.
They're in the county.
The first thing, why is the park superintendent involved on fixing a road? And where does he get the authority to accept bids and et cetera for this? I
Well,
think there's
I think he was
also-
just helping them out.
But this is
short of staff.
$36,000.
Yeah.
Another question is, I believe there is a state city ordinance or regulation or something that gives cities the ability to estimate street repairs on the number of people that actually use the streets, if it's an arterial street or blah, 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 blah. Mexico Street floods. I've gotten so many people who have told me, especially at the dermatology clinic, even at the handicap part, they can't get out of their cars because it's so full of water. Will this take care of that?
No.
So we're just fixing a street when we have flooding in one place and flooding here all of a sudden, and we have a street by Lions Park that is, there's nothing there.
This street,
I just find
This
it-
isn't by Lions Park.
No, but we have a city street that's used by people
Okay.
that's in worse shape than this.
I understand. I understand. And here's, hey, can I say, are you good for a second, or?
No, I just wanted to discuss it because I have a problem with the way these things are selected,
I know.
and I don't think it's a proper selection.
Okay, here's the issue I have with it. Looking at these proposals, they were done, one of them is October 22nd. You know, so we're going back into the middle of October. You know, and this is a continuing thing. You know, you guys say you don't want to come in these meetings and get beat up, but staff has had this information for weeks. And I'm the mayor of the city, and I knew nothing about this. There has been crickets. I have heard nothing about it until tonight. Where you have failed with this and where it's doomed is you hold this information and you think you can dump it on a meeting and get it approved. I have had, nobody has told me anything about this going on in the city. I have not had one conversation. Nobody knew that there was anything going out there. And it's just, the issue I have with it, I don't think it's prepared properly. I don't think there's enough information that everybody's got. And why is this a priority over Athens Street, where we're trying to take a hump out of the end of the street so that houses don't flood? Why is this a priority over houses flooding in the city? You know, you and I have gone out, we've looked at that. I asked to have quotes come back. I've talked to the city engineer about it, to take that hump out of the end of Athens Street so that the water doesn't back up and go into people's houses. I agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, go ahead. Interrupt me. Yeah, sure.
Linda, Athens Street is not on the agenda.
Is what?
Athens Street isn't on the agenda.
It isn't?
Not tonight, no.
No, but I'm just saying.
I'm just making sure she didn't say,
The
start
priority.
discussing the
Go
Athens
ahead.
Street.
no,
Yeah.
no. What I was going to say was in Mexico Street. When I first went over there as the interim public works director, it was brought to my attention immediately because of several phone calls that we get. And we do work orders, so the work orders go out, they patch the street.
patch the street.
Right. And then they come back and they tell us yay or nay. And we've had a lot of citizen complaints because it's not necessarily the people that live there, yet I had two. One citizen showed up tonight, the other one was not, and he's actually the one that came and called and talked to me the first time, and it was before Halloween. It escalated on Halloween night, and on Halloween day, I should
Because of the rain, or?
because they were having a hayride, and we had not addressed the street the way he had wanted to. So, we had, but not to the extent that he wanted done. So, make a long story short, we, like Jerry said, we sent Devin out, who was helping because we had several main breaks. We had a lot of flooding going on Halloween Day. We had all of our crew working out that we could not go and fix the potholes. So Devin went and helped us with his street guys to go and fill in the potholes. So that's what was done. But it escalated on Halloween, but it's been an ongoing problem since even before I came on board. So
It's been a problem for a number of years.
Correct.
There's been some retention walls built
Correct.
down there to stop the mud from flowing down across the street. I don't doubt that this needs to be fixed. I don't doubt that. I just wish it was a better process, and I'm not sure this is on the priority list.
And the reason why Mexico Street was chosen, or picked, however you want to call it, is because the county is helping us maintain it. This has been a road that the county has wanted to do for a long time. So they're out there working, and that's how it came to pass, is that they came and said, okay, we will help you fix this road because we are working on the road as well, and it's been something...
Oh, on that road. Mike, have you looked at these design criteria that they're doing for the road? Have you had any involvement in this?
I did, yeah. Linda called me, Mayor, and we talked. I've been to the site a couple of times, looked at it, visited with some folks about it. I was a little hesitant at first with the proposed solution because there's a lot of stormwater coming over there. And,
A lot.
right, and the solution's not dealing with the stormwater, but when you start looking at it, we haven't done a design. When you look at the size of the culverts that are coming, the side of that big canyon that's coming through there, and you look at the way the road is lower than the river side of the road, it's a significant effort. You're not talking a few $1,000s. You're talking significant capital investment to try to make the road a more permanent solution. So, as Linda explained the solution to me, the county, she showed me some of the numbers, right? We did some number scratching. As in solutions go, it's pretty inexpensive. It's not permanent in terms of solving the stormwater problems. They are going to cut in some bar ditches, which will help. They're going to have apparently supposed to blade off some of the earth on the high side of on the river side, which will help take the water off the road. So from that vantage point, part of me was thinking just do a good pothole fix on a couple of the deep holes and let it ride until you can do a permanent solution. But the problem with the permanent solution is you may not get to it. Just in terms of the funding.
No, we're not going to invest that amount of money out there.
Right, in terms of all the other, how many people you can impact for the
So
dollars.
if we do this project and the river comes up next year, is it going to wash this road out? Do you think in your mind?
I don't know that you can predict it, Mayor. I told this to Linda. There's no guarantees with water, right? You don't know, will it last? This is definitely going to be better than what it has been, right? I think that anything's been done to that road in 10 years, 15 years, I don't know when. Last time I drove on it a lot was 10 years ago, so I don't know for sure, but nothing's been done in a long time, so I think, from a maintenance perspective, it's a pretty low dollar cost per year. If you break it out the cost per year, it's really inexpensive maintenance-wise, but there are no guarantees that you won't have some problems in a year from now. You can't guarantee it.
I think there's value in this number. I think the issue that this council needs to discuss and decide if you want to do it. I think it's a great value. I think you get bang for the buck, but I'm not sure it's the right solution. How long is it going to last? And there needs to be some type of work done there. And is this a priority to do this street? Jesse, you had something you want to say?
There's a couple of things. At $38,000, we can put a lot of caliche down there for a lot of years and fix it after the rain until we get to a position where we can fix it correctly. And there's not much sense in going in there, spending $38,000 and have 3 rains and it's out again. When we
Well, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I agree. You don't know what water's going to do, but it's not going to do anything good. And the second thing, like I say, we've got a hump down here that we're trying to talk about to keep houses from flooding. The $38,000 would go a significant way to alleviating that problem. And then again, I look at these each of the bids, and you've got 2 feet, 3 feet, 14 to 16. The idea of saying, guys, bid what you want, that shouldn't be. we should have if we were going to go out for this, we should have had a specific request for proposal, going to cut back whatever, 2-3 feet, and that's non-negotiable. We're going to raise the trees to 15, 16, whatever, non-negotiable. Not just throw it out there and say, whatever y'all want to bid, just throw it at us. We're looking at not only apples to oranges, we're looking at apples to oranges to bananas here.
Okay.
And so I would find myself hard pressed to vote for this just on the bids. There's nothing consistent.
Is that it?
That's
Paul, do you have anything?
One of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if, as an engineer how you feel about it, but the county had proposed using a concrete stabilized base on that, and I found that has great durability.
Is that where they mix concrete into the base material?
So I would say, when I first called me, right, talked about what we're doing, I expressed concern, we talked about the county chip sealing the road, and I expressed concern from a durability standpoint. It's very costly, right? Asphalt or concrete is more durable, it's a significant cost. It's almost a non-starter in terms of price disparity between the two. So I had suggested, I don't know if it came from there, but the county also suggested, over time, the chip seal is going to break down if we're not sealing with the water. So the cement stabilized base just gives the road a little more longevity because it's going to be stronger. So it's going to hold up to the wear and tear of the water acting on it better than just the base wood by itself.
Okay. What I don't want to do is I don't want us to be short-sighted and bite our nose off when we have a lot of value, because I would guess if we had to go out for bids to get this street done, the way they're talking about, I bet it's probably $200,000.
It would be significant, right? You're getting free labor from the county, as I understand it.
Huh?
You're getting free labor from the county, as I understand it. Labor's a big.
There's no profit in there. It's just cost of materials.
Right. There's a lot of.
If we had to go out for bid, am I safe to say that if we were going to do this same work and get a contractor to do it, would it be over $100,000 to do that?
I would imagine it wouldn't be hard to get it, because I think we did the math, we're only like $6.50 a yard for reclamation, cement stabilization, and adding new base and chip sealing. It's pretty good value for the scope of work.
I'm inclined to ask you to approve this because I just think that the value we're getting for it, that street is in horrible shape down there. And I know it's a lot of money, but I think for the amount of value we're getting from it, I really believe that it would help. We've got $450,000 to use this year. We use this, then we're down to probably $400 before it's over with. I'd like to see us do something with Ascent Street to get that hump out of there so that at least the water doesn't pond back.
We're working on that.
I think the issue is going to be, I think there's a sewer line that's going to be in the way. If you look in the manhole, if you look in the manhole, it's up pretty high. I don't think we can anyways, we can't talk about Athens Street, but I think that we get value out of doing this. Phyllis, you had something you want to say?
Again, this is not value to the citizens. Nobody lives there. This is a lot of money, and I don't think the commissioner can choose which streets to fix. How did Mexico Street end up as a county road, as a road that the county was interested in fixing?
Because it's been a road that people have complained about to the county.
I've had many more complaints.
Oh, sure. The
two or more.
Gets complaints too. Their maintenance department gets those complaints too, and then they call, they say, well, that's actually part of the city, so that's why they call Public Works. So Public Works then has to send a crew out to fix a pothole or throw the base in and temporarily fix it till the next rain comes in.
All I can say, if I were a citizen that's been complaining for years and years and years about drainage and flooding, and I guarantee you the water on Mexico Street is going to go in that dermatology building soon, and we're fixing something like that down there as a priority. My problem is the priority.
Okay. If there's nothing else, could I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the repair of Mexico Street from Washington to the city limit with the proviso that the city staff put the tree trimming piece into a written request for quote, go out for 3 new quotes from these same companies, and that they make a decision which one they pick, not to exceed the amounts that are shown on here.
And I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Harry.
You're on a roll here.
Pay you the big bucks for it, not me anymore.
$25.
Half a pizza.
Affects the citizens.
Yeah.
Affects a certain group of people.
I vote aye. Motion passes. Are you guys clear what the motion is?
Yes, sir.
You guys are?
We're going to pull out the tree
Deborah
portion.
needs to be, you understand that we approved the
part is what I'm-
but the motion is for city staff to go back out with clear written RFQ on what they're doing. No, not qualifications, but a request for a bid.
Request for bid, making
Right.
it clear exactly what we want them. Yes,
Written,
yes.
and then you pick
Bids.
the one, not to exceed which amount.
What's in here now? Because it's going to be less when they...
Yeah, it's going to
So
be
it's
less.
$8,500 is the highest.
Yeah, but it's going to be less when they clarify the requirements. We took the tree out of that.
No, well, that, I think what he's saying is not to exceed for that portion, the tree trimming of the
Not to exceed the $3,850.
on that portion, yes.
Okay, so we're good, all right. I don't like this. Yeah, especially when it washes out next year. Going on to the next item, status report regarding TCEQ enforcement violations. Jerry.
Okay, real quick, this is, we're going to be bringing back to you in December the water violations. These are the violations, these are the main ones that we've been discussing. Staff wanted to bring back a report on where we were on this, and this is regarding to the one that has gone to enforcement. And so our goal, of course, is to get them to reduce or eliminate the fines. So on this one, we had 11 violations, of which 9 of them have been cleared. We don't know whether or not that will reduce or eliminate the fines at this point, but it's a good start. TCEQ has been happy with what we've sent. There are 2 remaining items which you are aware of. It's the prevention of the ponding in the affluent area and the irrigation area, and then the failure to operate and maintain the facility, which is basically the ponds. So Linda is going to discuss those 2 remaining issues and what the status is on those.
So item 4, the failure to correct bonding the effluent in the irrigation area is, we're actually talking about the Benning property. There is ponds up there that we send our effluent to, and those ponds, especially during rain events, are overflooding, and there's stagnant water along with the pond water, the effluent water, that is in tire tracks. So when the investigator went up there, he saw that and he made a notation, because we are not supposed to be having effluent water in tire tracks. So it's supposed to be contained and kept in the ponds themselves, including our ponds. So, but this particular violation was the Bain property. We have submitted everything to the city attorney because we've got to get direction from him as to how we're going to satisfy this violation. So once we get direction back from the city attorney, we will be able to go forward and try to get that one corrected. The next one...
I'm curious about something.
Oh, sure.
You said there was water and tire tracks? How did he come to the conclusion that it was our water?
Because they saw the water coming from the pond. It overfills and goes down, and we have, to be truthful, we have the same problem. I mean, sometimes with our ponds, if it gets too much big rain event, they're going to overflow.
So he saw it coming out of the pond. He saw it coming out of the pond into the
tire tracks. Correct.
He was up there during the rain?
He actually did talk to the property owner, the farmer up there. So the investigator did, along with our operator. So he is aware of the fact that he was caught with effluent in his tire tracks.
So Mr. Bailey will have to pay for that? That's not our violation, that's his
No,
using
ma'am,
the water.
the way the contract reads, it's our violation. We have to inspect, and we do inspect it. That's why we're waiting for the city attorney's direction is how we're going to handle it.
So the irrigator that's using our effluent, that is not abiding by pivot laws with irrigation,
He's not, right, correct. He's
we have
irrigating.
to,
He is irrigating when he wants, and he was caught irrigating, or it wasn't really irrigation, actually, it was standing water that was flowing over the ponds because of the rain event. So,
And Jerry, I believe
it is our violation.
we are still paying Mr. Boehm to take this water?
yeah.
We don't-
Sounds like a bad deal.
That's why we're at, that's why it's at the attorney.
Yes, yes.
Okay, move on, please.
Number 5 is the violation that we have. This is the one that we've been come to you before with the trees. We had several, we actually got some bids, we got some quotes. Mike and I discussed some of these things, but the bottom one was cutting those trees down around the dam. That was our biggest concern. So after conversation with Mike, we decided to go ahead and start all over and just let the engineers come in to examine the dam and the ponds and get their recommendations. They came last week, Mike and I were out there with them. They examined it, they sent us a letter already of what they're going to outline, and they're going to come back with a proposal to do all in the next December meeting. So nothing has been done with cutting any of the trees because we were hesitant until the engineers take a look at this.
And that was Mike, you were looking at that?
No, I had made a recommendation, so I made a recommendation that the city reach out to some folks who have expertise in dams to particularly talk about some of the larger trees and what's the best path forward in terms of whether someone could stay or what's the best way to remove some of them. And that's where these gentlemen come from.
Okay. So we're working on it.
Yes.
What's the next item?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it?
Oh, we,
4 and 5.
Thank you. We done?
for tonight, we have one more report.
Huh?
We have one more report, or we're done on this item, yeah.
Yeah, on this
Yeah,
item.
yes.
Understand. Going on to item number 18, report on Halloween activities.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like being last so I can use up the rest of the time. Real quick, short and sweet. There was a miserable Halloween evening, but it was packed again. A little over 3,000 kids in the country village, or country village area. They were all over. It was just incredibly busy, from dinosaurs to robots. And we had 3 officers out there, plus myself. And Mr. Shabelsky was out, Constable Shabelsky was out there also.
Who?
Shabelsky, the constable, our constable, Jim, he was out there also. And we had 2 officers in River Bluff, plus we had an officer working on the north side and an officer working on the south side. We had 0 instances of any criminal mischief or theft that night. We've got a lot of kudos from the people in Westheim Village. It was really the first time they'd have Halloween out there. We gave out 10 bags of candy, 3 cases of coloring books, and a case of pencils. It just went really well. I just want to let y'all know how it went.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Good news.
Going on to item number 19. Motion to adjourn. Do I have to vote on that one too? No. 8:04 p.m.